still working on, but this kind of turned into its own behemoth of a quest that we wanted to take a look at. So starting things off on our very first run on foot, right away we noticed that the map starts to fall apart the second you walk on some of the main tiles that you typically drive on, meaning that making a run to the first platform that you typically get to when you start the run is actually pretty difficult as things just fall apart quickly. So instead, what we tried doing was hanging left at the beginning of the Warthog run and sticking as close to the rock walls as possible to avoid or delay the map from destroying all of the platforms as quickly as it typically would. Once we followed the pathway that wrapped around the cliff, getting all the way to the entrance of the very first tunnel, we kind of thought we were a little bit stuck here. We knew we would have to come up with some crazy or very difficult jumps if we were going to somehow pull this off and really test out how far we could fall before we would either hit a death barrier or hit an automatic kill barrier for falling for too long. After we played around with seeing how quickly we died in different scenarios, we realized that if we grenade jumped at the right time, we could actually land on the right ledge, which would let the other player die and respawn, or make the grenade jump themselves to get onto the platform and see what other areas we could jump to. Once we made it to the higher section, we found it easiest to drop down and make sure we don't die in the process of that, and walk all the way to the other side of the tunnel entrance. Then at the bottom of the ramp by the right side entrance, we jumped on each other's heads to elevate to another ramp that would eventually get us up to a higher section of this lower level tunnel. Now at this time we're pretty much under the map, almost at the very bottom. The map will let you go without dying, so we had to pretty much find a way to get all the way back up onto the upper platforms if we were even going to have a chance at getting through the tunnel, because there's no way to get through the tunnel if you're still under the map. Finally, after jumping on each other's heads, making some great buddy jumps, and occasionally knocking the other person off the edge on accident or on purpose, one player has to make the ultimate leap of faith back onto the main platforms where the Warthogs are, while the other player has to be left behind and will have to use a grenade to respawn on his teammate. Now, one thing that we found was really interesting about going this pathway where we hugged the wall and jumped onto the cliff, rather than trying to memorize some sort of crazy pathway and running against the clock to run up to the tunnel the way that the Warthog normally would, is that by bypassing that first platform that we did when we hugged the wall and skipped it, we actually caused a skip in the level loading, which causes the tile sequence that normally causes the entire section to collapse to actually not happen, meaning that we would be able to run through the entire tunnel without having to worry about the level collapsing in front of us, meaning that other than a pretty long hike from one end of the tunnel to the other, we actually had gotten pretty far, and we were feeling pretty good that we even made it past this first section in the Warthog run, because literally we didn't think we would get this far at all. However, as you approach the end of the tunnel, the platforms will begin to fall as soon as you are close enough, so we had to actually hurry pretty quickly to get onto the next platform and continue on. And at this point, the platforms moving forward throughout the rest of this run actually will fall apart based on how close we are, so there's no more skips we can actually use if we're going to get through any more of this run. So once we made it onto the main platform, we noticed that the platform falls pretty quickly, and you only have a short amount of time to even drive through this platform before it falls off. So we ended up jumping over the main wall to try to buy as much time as we could to take on the actual Warthog run, as where we are with this platform, there's no rock wall or easy permanent tiles to stand on that is easily accessible. We'd actually have to do a real run across everything like we were in Warthogs, except we're really slow on foot. Okay, so this part involved us actually doing a section of the Warthog run on foot, and it was so difficult because ultimately we are just so much slower than Warthogs. We're constantly running and having platforms fall out and dephase from right below us where we just clip through the map.
Want to play some games League until Rob joins in like 45 minutes and play some WoW? Okay. He's using his family's. That's why he's not on right now, because he's waiting for his family to go to bed. Hey! You know, with us, without waking them up. Sorry about that, I had to sneeze.